Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Higher or Lower, the show brought to you by oddschecker, SpreadX and Sporting Index, as we look ahead to the weekend's football and see if we think the eventual results will be higher or lower down the midpoint. I am your host, George Ellick. I'm delighted to be joined by Dan Worth.
Hello, George.
And by Jack Wright.
Hi, George.
How are you?
Very, very well. How are you?
I'm hot. I've overdressed.
Okay.
Well, as in this is a thick jumper.
Yes.
It's quite cold outside. It's warm in here.
It is warm in here today.
Dan, you've kept your hoodie on because you've got a crease in your t-shirt.
Yeah, creased t-shirt, and I have to be looking good on these.
You do, and you do look great.
Thanks, man. That's very kind.
Let's get straight into the action. And there is, it wouldn't be a weekend's football of league action if there wasn't West Brom on the box on a Friday night. It was the case last weekend, and they were beaten in dramatic fashion, 3-2 at home by Middlesbrough. They now travel to Derby. Derby fresh off an impressive win away at Charlton in midweek. West Brom come here off the back of a 5-0 defeat against your boys Norwich.
Yes, they
5
did.
goals from 0.8 expected, wasn't it?
Oh no, it was that.
No.
Could have been, but yeah.
Josh who?
Madger.
Yeah, possibly. Right, yeah. So
It's the only one I can think of.
yeah, Sergeant training with the under-21s.
Yeah.
It seems.
Yeah. They got beat as well during the week, so he's rubbed off.
Yeah, exactly. Right, Derby hosting West Brom here. Total goals is the market we're looking at. Sporting Index have the line at 2.4 to sell, 2.6 to buy, so 2.5 as a midpoint. So higher going over 2.5, lower going under 2.5. That is easy. 3, 2, 1.
It is easy.
Did you see
Yes,
West Brom from an attacking standpoint?
Yeah, not a bad XG. Hit the post. Very unfortunate not to score.
Right.
But this is about their defending for me, as well as, I think they have got ability in forward areas. They were terrible, admittedly, the other night, but defensively, an absolute shambles. And will Eric Ramsey change his philosophy on that? I think it's very early in the piece for him to do that. The West Brom fans had already turned against him. Yes, a 5-0 drubbing at home. 8 goals conceded in his first 2 games, both at home. Probably the worst start you can imagine, really. And the insistence of playing out from the back from players that have got absolutely no confidence to do so. I'm sure the West Brom players are actually very grateful they're away from home for this game. But I just feel that if they go about their work the same way as they did in midweek and to a certain degree against Middlesbrough in that opening game as well, they can't fail to give up plenty of chances. And I was surprised about how low the expected goals were. When there was a couple of decent pings from Norwich, but there was also fairly close range goals that were pretty simple as well in there as well. And I fancy Derby to win this. I think they can win it quite cosily. They've scored in all but one of their 16 home games across all competitions this season. And I think they'll see this as a massive opportunity to go and carry on that good form. They have only kept 1 clean sheet in their last 8 at home. So I think that does offer West Brom a chance of scoring. We saw them against Borough finally, find a bit. So I think they can. But I do fancy goals in it, 3 or more definitely.
Interesting. Yeah, I kind of see this as a matchup between 2 managers. John Eustace, who we know very well, he's a manager who his success is built on really strong defensive unit and not conceding many goals. They're not the most free scoring either. And the criticism of Ramsey has been the style of football. And yeah, I know that his 2 games so far have seen 5 goals and 5 goals, but I don't think that's what we're going to see consistently because the criticism from West Brom fans have been the way they approach the games, the fact that they're not looking to play on the front foot. And I think West Brom will find it easier to play that way and to suffocate a team like Derby rather than Middlesbrough under Hellberg, who are relentlessly attacking, and Norwich, who, of course, scored 5 goals, but it came from under 1 expected. So, I think desperate for a point Ramsey here, which I think could play into a slightly more defensive mindset, and I'm going under 2.5. Dan?
Yeah, very similar. I think just something's got to change for West Brom, hasn't it? And if you concede 5 and then go and do the same thing the next time out, then that's ludicrous. But also, I don't think you mentioned Derby games at home in the Championship this season, just more times than not finish 1-1, which will be a win for us.
More times than not?
Maybe, but definitely close. It's only gone above this line 4 times this season, so I think that's more times than not. It's gone underneath.
Okay,
and another one here.
Right, on to Premier League football now. West Ham hosting Sunderland. West Ham buoyant off the back of that 2-1 away win at Tottenham, who then followed that up with an impressive win in Europe. So that form has been franked.
Cool.
And Sunderland,
Thomas franked.
off the back of a 2-1 win at home against Palace. So two sides come off the back of wins. West Ham are favourites at home to Sunderland. 0.15 is a midpoint with Sporting Index. So higher here is a West Ham win in the supremacy market. Lower is Sunderland or draw. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I don't know. It's just Sunderland are such a funny one. Obviously, players back from AFCON now is going to help them massively, and they've been just unbelievable this season. But I can't really get away from the fact that I think they're due a bit of a sticky run at some point. They are massively overperforming their numbers. It's nothing against them, but for West Ham, things obviously haven't been great for the last few weeks, but that performance against Spurs was much better. I do think for them, possibly playing against teams where they can take a little bit more of the initiative, as is the case with Thomas Frank's Spurs, rather than being dominated in possession and kind of being suffocated and unable to get out, might benefit them. I know they got beaten 2-1 by Forest in the league game before the Spurs game, but as we discussed at the time, that game kind of swung on a couple of big refereeing decisions. I think, obviously Sunderland are the better team, but with home advantage here, I'm willing to take a chance that the West Ham get over the line. Why am I wrong, Dan?
Well, I mean, I just think Sunderland are better than West Ham. It's pretty simple. Opinion. And then also getting the draw on side, as ever with these markets, just seems too good to be true, in my opinion. Yeah, a great result against Tottenham, but I've sat here for the last few weeks to talk about how bad Tottenham are.
Yeah.
I know they won in Europe, but in the league they've been terrible. Sunderland obviously beat West Ham 3-0 in the reverse fixture. And Sunderland's form, although hasn't been as strong as at the start of the season, they've only lost one of their last 8 in all competitions and have drawn quite a few, which again makes the draw a big play here.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think everyone is most impressed with Sunderland is their ability to bounce back when they go 1-0 down. I think they've won the second most points from losing positions of any team in the Premier League here. So even if West Ham come flying out the trap and go 1 ahead, I still wouldn't write off the draw, which again makes the draw a massive play for me. So it has to be lower.
Jack?
Yeah, I agree. I think the draw is a big play here. So getting it on side and the better side over the course of the large majority of the season, for me means I've got to go lower. I can't be siding with West Ham really. That win ended a run of 10 without a win, but they've only won 2 at home this season, and I think playing at home gives them more pressure, and I don't think that up for that the crowd can quickly turn, especially against a side that I think, despite their league position, the West Ham fans would expect them to go and put a good performance in and win the game. And the issue that Nuno's got is he can't get his side to keep a clean sheet. 17 league games in charge, no clean sheet so far. Very un-Nuno-like, but you can see him on the sideline scratching his head as to how he can try and get this side to defend properly. So expect Sunderland to score, which then will make it hard, I think, for West Ham to get a win in this. You look at Sunderland's road record, it's not the best away from home. They're obviously very, very strong and unbeaten at home, but on the road, not quite so strong. But again, they still managed to pick up some decent results and performances. They've only lost 2 of the last 6. That came at Brentford, which we know are one of the strongest home sides in the league, and Manchester City, of course, who are as well. They've drawn at Liverpool, they've won at Chelsea, they've got it in them to do it, and I think they have got enough. And their aerial ability and those set pieces, I think, could be key against the West Ham side that are terrible at defending those situations. So I think it's enough to like about Sunderland for me to certainly get them and the draw on side.
Good stuff. Right, next up we have got Bournemouth hosting Liverpool. Bournemouth frustrated away at Brighton, took the lead and were unable to hold on thanks to a unbelievable bicycle kick, ridiculous miss-hit, whichever you want to say, up against Liverpool, who come here off after a really good European night, winning 3-0 away from home at Marseille. Total goal minutes is the line here, 165.5 is the midpoint, 158 to sell, 173 to buy. Total cumulative minutes and which goals are scored in the game. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
My own again.
Yeah.
Semenyo has left Bournemouth, and I watched the game against Brighton on Monday night, and I was pretty taken by how different they looked from an attacking standpoint. The goal came from a penalty. They didn't create loads after that. They had a very good spell in that last 25 minutes of the first half. After that, Brighton had a lot of possession, but didn't really create too much either. It was a game that I think we all expected goals in last week's show, and there shouldn't necessarily be more than the 2 that there were. And I wonder if that we're going to see Bournemouth's goal output drop a little bit because they haven't got both from an attacking standpoint where they won't create as much, but also defensively, because you haven't got Antoine Semenyo leading the line, then you probably have to be a bit tighter at the back. Liverpool, as was the case midweek, when they're good under Arne Slot, as was the case last season, they tend to win games by kind of relatively low scorelines to 0, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if this is one of those. So, I'm willing to take on goals. I understand why the line is high because of Bournemouth and Liverpool too, but I think this could be a low-scoring affair. Jack?
Yeah, not a confident play this. That line was high enough for me to have a fair amount of doubt as to which way I was going to go with it. The only thing that's really swung it for me is, the jury's still a little bit out on what Bournemouth we're going to see Semenyo-less. For Liverpool, Salah back, is he going to start, is he going to show what we know he is capable of, or is it going to be more of the same? We'll have to wait and see. But I think Florian Wirtz finding his feet is massive for them. Assists and goals in his last few games. Gakpo, you'd assume, will play a big part in this. Rested pretty much for most of that Marseille game, then come on at the end and scored a goal. Dominic Szoboszlai, the goals that he's scoring at the moment and his performances are superb. So I think they've got enough about him. And that reverse game does stick in my mind at the start of the season, 4-2, when it looked like Liverpool were cruising, but they do throw out chances, and I think Bournemouth have got enough going forward to take them with the players that they have got there. And the main swinging point for me is the fact that they love late goals. Both these sides love late goals. Bournemouth has seen a goal in added on time in each of their last 3 fixtures. For Liverpool, 15 goals this season in their games on the road, scored beyond the 80th minute. And 15 away games, 9 have come in added on time. So anything like that is going to be a massive chunk of this line. So that's what swung it in that favour for me as a higher.
Yeah, nice. I like that. That's very good for me. Just Bournemouth home games have been quite goalsy recently. 3-2 against Arsenal and Tottenham in the 2 most recent fixtures. But a lot of this comes down to Liverpool and their defensive incompetency is too harsh because they're not that bad, but they have been conceding a lot of goals, particularly away from home. And when they concede, they quite often concede more than once. They've conceded more than once in 7 of their away trips already this season. So I think I have to fancy both teams to score, and with this line and this market generally, if that does happen, that's a very nice foundation. Mixed with Jack's argument for late goals, then I think I could be onto a winner.
Okay, Newcastle hosting Villa now, another game that screams goals. Newcastle back to their free scoring ways with a really impressive 3-0 win in Europe, beating PSV at home. Hosting Villa off the back of a really poor result at home to Everton last time, where they didn't score at home, which is a rarity under Unai Emery. Total goals is the market here. 3.2 is the midpoint, 3.1 to sell, 3.3 to buy. Over goals here, therefore, higher would be 4 or more, lower 3 or fewer. 3, 2, 1. Ooh.
Yeah. I've got a lot of questions unanswered ahead of this one. Villa obviously play after we recorded this in the Europa League, so we'll have to see what happens there. For me, massive win, Newcastle in Europe, as you said. But at what cost? Bruno Guimaraes was injured right in, say, the early part of the second half there. They have looked tired. He's looked tired, and you wonder how much that injury was down to the fact that he's been sort of running on empty recently. Very flat versus Wolves last week as well. Of course, they're at home, which does make a difference. That crowd will lift them. We will expect that. And yeah, Villa really disappointed me last week. They just weren't themselves at all. So, is that a case of them now getting to the point where they're a little bit tired? Again, they've got pretty much a core side that they have to put out. The sale of Milan, I think, is a little bit of a strange piece of timing. Yeah, they do need a replacement.
I think it's Marlon.
Marlon?
Milan.
Whatever.
Like potato.
Is it Dominic?
Daniel.
What's the thing?
Dominic Milan.
Dominic Milan.
He sounds like a politician.
He's in the youth setup, so we should see him come in. We can cut all that, please. Thank you very much. And there's also links with Martinez going as well. Yeah. So whether that comes to pass, and that's never handy ahead of a big game like this. So I'm happy to risk 3 goals all over. I've got a lot of results on my side here. I think it could be a narrow win either way. I would probably lean towards a Newcastle win. A tie wouldn't surprise me either. So as I said, there's a lot of results in my pocket here with 3 or fewer goals.
Good stuff, Dan.
Yeah, it's fair enough, but I do disagree. 0-0 obviously in the reverse for you. That would be nice in this market for you, but not for us. We know that Newcastle have a tendency to go berserk with the goals. They've scored 2 or more in all of their last 8 home games. And Villa don't keep too many clean sheets away from home, only one in their last 9 trips. And in that time, we've seen some very big scorelines. We've got 4-3 against Brighton, 4-1 against Arsenal, 3-2 against West Ham. I'm hoping we get one of those here, and this comes in easily.
Yeah, I just think Newcastle at home, their approach to games is just absurd. Like, they just commit so many men forward at all times. The game model is just score goals and don't sit on leads. We saw that game against Leeds. They were behind 3 times and still won at 4-3. For Villa, Villa is such a strange team. But Kamara's injury means that from a defensive, he's the player that you really want for them in this game, because of Newcastle's ability to attack and transition. And with him out, I think Newcastle will carve through them pretty cosily, and they're not the most solid at the back. So I think Newcastle will win this, probably quite a high scoring win. And Villa have gone from being, are they in the title race, to now, got to look over their shoulders, I think, about the Champions League qualification. Right, 2 old foes meet, but in very different circumstances, albeit Manchester United absolutely buoyant after their Derby Day win that no one saw coming. Arsenal at home come here off the back of a really impressive European win, 3-1 against away at Inter, where they went off outsiders, which I thought at the time was strange, and they didn't do anything about it. Arsenal favourites here, unsurprisingly, over United, 0.95 to sell, 1.15 to buy. So higher here is Arsenal -1. Lower is United to lose by a solitary goal, a draw, or a win.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. We're all in agreement. We've all been swayed by one game of Carrick ball.
I know.
Jack?
It feels so wrong, doesn't it?
But it also feels so right.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do we begin with this one? Heavy rotation from Arsenal, and as a very impressive result still. They've got lots to like, lots going forward especially. And as for Man United, who knows? Who knows? But they were extremely impressive. I've kind of said that was really annoying for me to watch Man United players run through brick walls, put the energy, the effort, the work rate, and the ability that we probably know they have got. They've just effectively chosen not to do that over the last few years. It's not just the last season or 2. It's been a while now where that has happened. And when they want to play, they do, and they can put in great performances, and we've seen it before. If this was a game against a lesser light, I would certainly be going against Manchester United, because I feel that could well be just their usual dip back down. But because it's Arsenal and it's away from home, I think they will be up for this one again. So I don't think Michael Carrick will have to do too much to get them performing, or attempting to perform, certainly in a similar way. So that's how I see it. They were exceptional against Manchester City. There's no getting away from it. 2-0 win, could have been 5, 3 goals disallowed, lots of other chances as well. And they do are performing better against the top half sides. They've won 5 of 10 games against the top half, and they've only won 4 of 12 against the bottom half. So I think that sums pretty much up what they're about, what they're like. So is it a one-off? Is it more sustainable? They might well lose this, but as you say, we've got the defeat by a single goal in a pocket, and we know Arsenal can be a little bit pragmatic, get the job done. And Mikel Arteta would absolutely be more than happy with a single goal win here. So that's my rationale.
Yeah, great stuff. Dan?
Yeah, I mean, much the same. I think Arsenal are likely winners here, but I can't see them blowing a Man United side that come into this off the back of a big win that looked pretty good. And even if it is just that sort of upward trajectory that you kind of get here and there with Man United, I still, as I say, don't see Arsenal flying past them. Arsenal don't often lose at home, but they do concede, more so than we're used to. Their defence hasn't been anywhere near the quality that we kind of got used to last season. And if they concede, then this line looks even more on our side, obviously. But I think Arsenal win, but I think that 1-goal win is massive.
Okay. I just think that there were signs that this was coming for. There were signs this was coming for United before Carrick came in and Amorim left. Like, their form before AFCON was very good. Amad Diallo left for AFCON. Brian Mbeumo left for AFCON. The performances dipped a bit. Amorim got sacked. Those players come back and they look really good against City. I mean, it's not as simple as that. Obviously, it was a really good performance. Carrick got the tactics spot on, helped by City's depleted defensive numbers. But United aren't, they haven't been bad all season. Like compared to what we saw last season, the underlying numbers have been pretty good, pretty strong for the whole campaign. Their XG numbers are good. The performances have been okay. They've been unlucky at times. When things have been bad, they kind of it's so intense, the spotlight on them, that it probably gets blown out of proportion a bit. This isn't an easy game for Arsenal, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if United make it very difficult for them. So to have, the Arsenal by one onside makes this an absolute no-brainer for me.
One of Amarim's better performance, or one of the better performances under Amarim, was actually in the reverse fixture, wasn't it? When they actually battered Arsenal. Lost it by a single goal, which again was said to be enough here, but at Old Trafford they absolutely dominated that game, and that was early in the season. And it was like, oh, hang on, Man United are looking really, really good. Created lots of chances. I think they won every kind of other battle other than the scoreline in that particular game. So we could see something similar. Certainly, will take confidence into that.
For sure. Right. Everton hosting Leeds. Now we're looking at first match goal here. So this is the time in which the first goal is scored within the game. 38 is the midpoint with spread X, so lower here would mean that there is a goal within the first 38 minutes of the game. Higher means it would be 0-0 after that time. There we go. Higher or lower? 3, 2, 1.
I know it's tough because it's quite a high line, isn't it? But, I mean, and again, maybe this is recency bias creeping in here, but I watched the Villa game, given that we were on this market, and I just can see this playing out the same way. Like, both teams quite sort of slow in the first half, and then we start to see a goal or two in the second half. For all of the good that Leeds have done this season, very little of that has come on the road here. I think Everton will, as I say, look to shut up shop, and it could be a really low scoring one for me, so I've decided on the higher.
Jack?
My gut instinct here was, this is going to be higher for those reasons, really. Delved into the stats, and the stats just scream out the fact that it's going to be lower. And the reverse fixture, if you remember that, again at the start of the season, was a sort of sign that Leeds were going to be a bit of a force to be reckoned with, or certainly weren't going to be any pushovers. And since then, they've got better because of the change of system and how they're playing, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin coming in and performing exceptionally well, and him going back to his old club here is a real interesting narrative, which will be interesting to see. But the basic stats of Everton's 11 home league games this season, 9 have seen a goal before this line, and of Leeds 11 away from home this season, 8 have seen lower. So that's a combined 17 of 22, which is 77%. So, and it's consistent from the beginning of the season through to the point we're at now. I'm just going to have to lean on the stats here and say there's no reason why it won't be the similar.
Okay, yeah, I just think that it's a high line for Premier League game of football. I know that Everton and David Moyes generally tend to be pretty defensive-minded, but it hasn't necessarily always been the case this season. Leeds under Farker, since the change of shape, have been much better, much improved. I'm just not... It would have to be a game between two outrageously poor attacking sides for me to entertain. Thinking it's more likely than not it's going to be 0-0 after 39 minutes.
I was shocked to find there's only been one game at the Hill Dickinson Stadium this season, or in its entirety in the league. Ever in history of the stadium being there, where there's not been a first half goal. And that game ended 0-0, and that was the second home game of the season.
Wow.
After that, every single game has had a goal in the first half. One of them was 45 minutes, hence why it was higher than this line. But there's been a goal in the opening minute and in the second minute as well. So all by one. Interesting.
Goodness. Wow. Right. Nap time. Dan, I handed the crown to Jack last week, but you can have it back.
I mean, rightfully so. I've been terrible with these recently. But
what's your best bet
this
of the
time,
weekend?
it's a winner. I'm going back to West Ham versus Sunderland. I'm buying total goal minutes at 133 because, as I've already said, I think there's going to be lots of goals. And again, I'm repeating what I've said, but Sunderland's ability to come back from going down is very, very impressive this season. So I just think that there could be goals from the start and throughout. And I'm hoping that's the case. 133 is pretty low. And West Ham, again, they did beat Tottenham, but they've been conceding so many shots. And I think if you give Sunderland lots of chances, they're going to score lots of goals. Only Burnley have conceded more shots than West Ham in the Premier League this season. But West Ham do have the players that can hurt Sunderland on the counter-attack. Only 3 teams in the Premier League have scored more counter-attacking goals. Everything, to me, looks like there's going to be lots of goals here. So I hope that's the case.
Okay, Jack?
League One for me, Rotherham versus AFC Wimbledon. And I'm going with Wimbledon total goal minutes at 54. Side not in great form, but not as bad as Rotherham. Lost their last 8, conceded 21 goals. Lost their last 3 at home, 3-0, 3-1 and 2-0. All those games covered higher. And I say AFC Wimbledon aren't in the best shape, but I think they'll see this as a big opportunity to get back to winning ways. They failed to score in 5 of the last 6 at home, but have found it easier away from home. They lost 2-0 at Wickham last time out, but prior to that, they won 3-1 at Leyton Orient, and that's not an easy place to go and get a positive result, is it? Although 3-1 is quite a regular scoreline there. That made up 179 minutes. They also drew 3-3 with Huddersfield within their last 5 road trips as well. And then they've all have scored 2 or more goals in 7 of 13 away league games this season. Higher landed in all of those, and they also won the reverse fixture 2-1 with total goal minutes for them of 117.
There we go. Compelling stuff. I put up bookings or cross bookings in City United last week. It looked like it was going to be a big winner. It hit 600 and then there was nothing in the last 50 minutes or so. I'm going to try and repeat the trick here. May not be quite as, well, it's a very different rivalry, but still Arsenal versus Manchester United is still a rivalry between two sides who don't like each other very much. With a bit of history, United, I think, coming into this one pretty buoyant and pretty happy after last weekend. Should make it even more tetchy. I find it hard to believe this is going to be a game that's going to fizzle out into nothing. Craig Pawson is the referee for this, who has an interesting history of cards, where at times he's been one of the more liberal card givers in the Premier League. But this season, it's been bizarre. He's averaging 1.92 per game through 12 games.
That's unsustainable.
That is unsustainable. That is my point. Because if you look over his 280 games in the Premier League, he averages 3.6. And I always think there's an element here where if it's so anomalously different, it's gonna, it's gonna revert itself in time. And the line is incredibly low for a team, again, between these two sides. 36 to sell, 40 to buy. Do you also know, I think I'm right in saying that Arsenal have the most bookings in the Champions League this season, showing that in games where it's against good opposition and there's a lot riding on it, they are pretty ill-disciplined. Cross bookings is 395 to buy, 335 to sell. So the midpoint, 365? That is low, and I'll be willing to take that on in a game between two teams that don't like each other. So I'll be buying there. Right, there we have it. That brings this episode of Higher or Lower to a close. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch it. If you haven't got one already, make sure that you sign up for a Sporting Index or a SpreadX account. The link is in the show description. Do read up on the risks of spread betting, and remember that losses can exceed your initial deposit. Oddschecker have you covered for your fixed odds betting needs, and whoscored.com have you covered for your stats to inform your betting selections over the weekend. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, George.
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks, George.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back again next week, but in the meantime, please ensure that you're gambling responsibly.